Welcome back to Briggs on Books. I'm your host. We've been here since 2008, and COVID came along and forced us to learn new technologies such as Zoom. Now our author show, it's international. We talk to people all over the world. Now, I know many of our viewers are just trying to get that first book out. They're trying to finish writing it, put that pencil down, and then there's some big steps to getting your book published. And so many of people, after they go through all that labor, get their book out there, and they're not getting any sales. But it has to do with, well, you have to know what you're doing. Amazon is a thing that you got to work your way through and figure out, and you can spend hours and hours and hours doing that. So what we've done is we invited an expert at this onto the show to talk to us about it and see if he could help give some ideas to some of our new authors. Welcome, Mark James. Welcome, Mark.
Hi there, Mike. Thank you.
Where are you located?
I'm in the Algarve in Portugal.
Okay.
I'm obviously British, but yeah, I live here.
There's your logo. Author Sales. And tell us what you do. You provide a service to authors?
Yeah, basically I work with fiction and non-fiction authors, and I help them to make profitable sales, particularly on the fiction side. With the non-fiction, it's a bit more about reach and a cost balance, but it's basically following the data from running campaigns on Amazon, and I set them up, I run them, I manage them, we have regular communication, and then make adjustments accordingly.
Yeah. It sounds very complicated, Mark, and I was saying earlier, I don't want to learn how to do something else, especially as complicated as Amazon. I could spend months or years trying to solve that puzzle, but you've already done it. You've been down the road many, many times.
Yeah, I've been in online advertising since 1997 and, created some of the first online adverts that the English would have seen in the UK. Just as broadband was coming about, and we were just kind of working out how to take kind of traditional newspaper advertising and put it online. So I've been doing it a very long time, and the data that's available now, because of the size of some of the customer bases that we're dealing with, can be very, very accurate. It's about volume. It's about making smart decisions following that data.
And is it partially how you put your book on Amazon?
Not so much. No, not so much. There's actually a lot of things you can do off of Amazon that helps Amazon. As you may know, Goodreads, owned by Amazon. It's much more community driven, so I always highly recommend all my clients, fiction and non-fiction, build a following on there as well. Yeah,
I had no idea that Goodreads was owned by Amazon. Yeah. Every book I read, I post on Goodreads. I have a reading list on there. And would that help
yes.
authors find
if you had a book? Yeah. If you had a book on Amazon, definitely, because it adds relevance to the algorithm that Amazon's using to both place adverts if you're doing them, or even organic listings if you're not. So keep touching Goodreads once a week, I recommend.
Well, I am not an author yet, but I read a lot. So I list every book I read on there, and I notice I get inquiries, I get messages and stuff like that. So that's based on my algorithm, I guess.
Well, that algorithm that is feeding data every few milliseconds into Amazon.
A few milliseconds.
Yeah.
No idea. So, and also I use Goodreads to search. I have certain very specific topics, nonfiction, memoirs, and political things, and books on U.S. presidents and stuff. So Goodreads is a great tool for me to find what to read next.
Yeah, it is. It's heavily used by people who are really looking for what to read next, whereas Amazon, it's a bit more e-tail style. I know I want to go in and I want to book about X or Y.
Yeah, when I'm ready to get the book, then I go to Amazon and order it.
Yeah, to buy it, exactly.
Now, and tell me what you would do for someone. An author contacts you and says, I have this great fiction, novel I've written, and it's on Amazon, but I don't know what to do now. It's not selling.
Well, there's a lot of things that say you can do kind of for free to help yourself, like Goodreads, making sure you get into lists on Goodreads, because that's just free advertising for you. And if it's a big list with a lot of followers, they all get notified. What I specifically do is I'll have a call with the client to understand what their goals are. And because obviously fiction and non-fiction are totally different. They may have a series of 5 or 6 books. We still only market one book. And then you allow the sell-through to make the profit off the rest.
I see.
So there's different things for different size authors. Brand new authors, I always say I like to see at least 10 reviews. You can do tactics that allow you to get reviews, but it extends that chance of profitability out by a couple of months because you've got to discount the price to get those reviews in. So certain tactics work for getting reviews, other tactics work for driving sales, and then it's about following the data. And what I do is what I call a shotgun to a sniper approach. Mm-hmm. We start with a fair selection of keywords and categories, and then we turn off what's not working. So we end up with a far smaller number of very, very efficient campaigns, and it takes 3 months, I find, to get to that position. So I run a 3-month initial service, and then if they want to continue using me after that, then obviously they can.
Now, where would the reviews, say you should have 10 reviews, where would those reviews be posted?
Verified reviews on Amazon.
Oh, on Amazon.
Yeah, but this is where Amazon and Goodreads work so closely together. If you've got many more reviews on Goodreads, that will hugely influence how much priority the advertising gives you on Amazon. They are directly linked.
I try to review every book I can, but I've only done it on Goodreads.
Wonderful. Yeah, well, verified reviews on Amazon, they change the criteria, and I think at the moment you have to have been with them for 6 months as an account and have bought about $50 or $60 worth of books, so they know you're not just set up to promote a book and then you disappear afterwards. They want genuine customers to leave the reviews.
Somebody who's really buying the books.
Yeah.
One reason I do the review on Goodreads is I generally read out of the library. I have to look at so many books and know about so many books that I can't even begin to afford to be buying those. So
yeah, exactly. Well, there's an element of scale because I only work with a small number of clients in any single genre. So if it's a big wide genre, literary fiction, I've got a dozen clients in there. But if it's a real very narrow niche, time travel romance, I may only have one client because otherwise they start to compete against each other.
I see. Now, you said you would set up a phone call or consultation. What is that going to cost the author?
Nothing at all.
Okay.
That's a free call. Understand what they're trying to do. We have a chat basically, and there's no pressure. There's no hard sell. I follow it up with an email, and then if they want to go ahead, they come back to me. Mm-hmm. About 50% of my work is from referrals, so through other authors. Yeah.
So there's really no reason for an author not to call you.
No, there's no obligation whatsoever, and I'll also give them other tips that they can do in the meantime, like making sure their author profile on Amazon is set up correctly.
Yeah.
They've got all their books in there. They've got additional free reviews that you can put in there. So if your book's low on reviews, add them into your author profile on Amazon because they'll still show up against your book when somebody's looking at your product page.
Very good. Now, also, you said that if somebody uses your service, after a couple months, if they decide not to, they can stop. So they're not tied up for the rest of their life.
Not at all. It's a 3-month service because that gives me time to get the data I need to be able to see what's working. It allows both parties to kind of be comfortable with the relationship. For the first month, there's a phone call every week, and I show them the dashboard. So you do a Zoom call. They can see exactly what the data I'm looking at, and I can explain to them why I'm going to do what I'm going to do next. Yeah. So there's a lot of communication to make sure they understand what's happening. And at the end of the 3 months, the data's theirs anyway. It's not mine. We sign a mutual non-disclosure agreement. I provide a service contract. It's all done so that they're clear what everybody's getting. And at the end of the 3 months, it's up to them whether they continue to choose to go on or not. And
the reason I ask these questions like this is the call free? Are they obligated for long periods? These authors, by the time, you might find this a lot, by the time they get to you, they've been burned by a couple people along the way. Unscrupulous publisher, a publicist, things like that. So,
I'd say, but I'd say the biggest task for any authors is getting those reviews.
Yeah. But it sounds like if they go with you, it's free to get started. Just call and ask some questions. You might give them some information they can use, and they're not tied up with you forever. So, they feel more comfortable taking the chance.
Yeah, and I get clients who, after have been with me for a couple of years, we realize it's a very cyclic sales on their book. So, for example, a gardening book that I work very closely with, she doesn't sell anything in the depths of winter, either in the UK or the USA, because the ground's frozen. But come the spring, it picks up. So she turns off for 3 months every year, and I work with her for 9 months every year. So there's a lot of flexibility based on what the data shows us is the best way to manage the account as well.
I always say also, I've spent my life learning my subject, getting advanced degrees in history and in the areas that I like to study. And I don't want another advanced degree in how to maneuver Amazon. I don't want to do that. And
it would be an ever-changing degree as well, because they change things almost daily, and you have to kind of keep up with what they're doing, and they don't announce it very well. their communication isn't particularly good.
Yes,
But I will often go into battle for a client with their support at Amazon to try and get, some of the more simple things fixed.
I guess you speak their language.
Yes, in part, but it's not actually machine language, which I think most of them are now.
Yeah.
Excuse me, now using.
So, well, I'm glad we talked to you because, like I said, a great portion of our audience is people that are almost done writing their first book and can't seem to get over the hump. And the majority of our guests are those who have a book and they're trying to get it marketed. They're trying to get it out there, looking for the formula that'll click to get people to look at and buy their book. And it sounds like you have kind of figured that out. And it's not just
to a degree, yeah. I mean, it's still really down to the number of reviews, and the person looking at it at the time goes, I'm going to spend $4.99 because they've only got 10 reviews. The next person looking at it might say, I want to see 20 reviews before I spend $4.99. And everybody has that different kind of criteria. But if you've got an audience that you're looking for a particular book, subject, or a matter of discussion, then that is the way to go, because somewhere on Amazon that audience exists.
By the way, I know you've been doing this marketing, internet marketing, is that what you call it? For a number of years. I know you're in Portugal right now. You're from the United Kingdom. Does that not matter so much anymore when you're helping people get their book published? It's kind of a worldwide thing now.
It is very much worldwide. I used to travel all the way over the world for the last 20-odd years selling advertising solutions like the one Amazon used, the A9 algorithm they use. Facebook used the same one. They've obviously done variations to them, but obviously when COVID hit, that all came to a standstill, and my carbon footprint, fortunately for the planet, dropped away. My wife had written a business book and went, you understand this data stuff, why don't you have a go at that? And that's literally how it started. She had a couple of friends who also written business books, and they all saw their books start to rise up the bestseller ranks and the book selling ranks, and it literally started from there. So Author Sales itself has only been going 3.5 years.
Now, by the way, I'm not sure about this, but maybe you can clarify if there's an author in America and they want to sell in United Kingdom or other. Does Amazon have separate accounts for those things? Yeah,
it's different dashboards because the categories are put together slightly different. So a genre might be called one thing in America, it's called something completely different in the UK. I've got clients advertising in 7 different marketplaces on Amazon where they've gone to the trouble of translating. It's a book about fables, ancient fables from prehistory, and they sell in every single language and in every country of the world. So that's an example of where it makes sense, but to do it in multiple languages. But most writers, it's the 2 main English-speaking markets, and that's the UK and the US. And I address both of those with a single service because it's just easy to do so.
Well, I asked the question a different way. For example, my son lives in Canada. When I send him something from Amazon, I go to a different Amazon.
That's right. It'll redirect you automatically based on your IP address and some other funky stuff that's going on in the background. But from my perspective, it's really the English-speaking markets that have the dominance. And, I tend to find there's quite a bit of difference. Sometimes a client will sell well in the USA under the genres and the category adverts we can't run. And in the UK, it might be keywords because the 2 cultures actually search very, very differently on Amazon.
Now, Mark, this is your logo, by the way, Author Sales. And we have the website. We have the Instagram. You may be the most important guest we've had on this show.
That's very kind of you to say so.
It really is because, like I say, a lot of authors don't trust. They've already been burned a couple of times. So I like your approach to business, and there's no giant obligation, and you could just
No, and I've been in professional services industry, so I know how to keep the client happy, basically, and I get to work with who I want to work with. I don't outsource anything. Right. I don't have any other teams working for me on anything like that because I prefer to have that hands-on kind of feel.
Very good. We're way past time, Mark. I could talk to you all day long, but any last thoughts you want to give to our viewers?
Not any one thing that you can do, but if you want to give me a call, hit me up with an email, something like that, we can organize a time. I have a lot of clients in the US, so a lot of my afternoon is spent dealing with the US clients, and then the mornings are spent dealing with the UK and the European clients. So I have a fairly tight diary, but I'm sure I'll try and squeeze people in. It'll only take about half an hour.
By the way, it's almost noon here in California. What time is it in Portugal?
It's now 7 minutes to 8 in the evening.
About 8 hours then. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. I want to have you back on again and again because I think,
Please do.
like I said, you could be one of the most important people we've talked to on this show about
Thank you.
how authors could get to the next step.
Well, I look forward to hopefully hearing from some of your clients and, I'll some of your viewers, and I'll help, if I can.
All right. Mark James, by the way, check out his web address. It's there on the screen, authorsales.co.uk, or go to Instagram, Author Sales. We will be back with more authors right after this, so please don't go anywhere.